Welcome to the Board Business Channel. We've got a pretty cool company to talk about today.
Oh, yeah.
You know how we like to find these companies that are kind of under the radar, but they're really interesting and doing cool things?
Yeah.
We found one, a Taiwanese company called Kinik.
Yeah.
They've been around for a while, like 70 years.
70 years.
70 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And Steve, you know Steve?
Yeah, Steve.
The executive director of the Arizona, Taiwan office.
Right.
He actually told us about Kinik.
Oh, cool.
And he's convinced that they're going to be big in the U.S., especially because they're a supplier for TSMC.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That TSMC.
Yeah, TSMC.
That's impressive.
So
no kidding.
what's really fascinating about Kinik is how many times they've reinvented themselves.
Oh, interesting.
They actually started in a completely different industry.
Okay.
They started making pottery.
Pottery.
Yeah, like plates and cups and stuff.
Wow. I would not have guessed that.
In Ying, in Taiwan.
Okay.
Which is actually a town that's known for its pottery.
So they were like right in the heart of it.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
Wow. So I know.
That's pretty cool.
How do you go from making pottery to supplying parts for like the most advanced computer chips in the world?
Yeah. That's a big jump.
It's a big jump.
Huge leap.
Well, it's a classic story of entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Right? Seeing an opportunity that maybe other people aren't seeing.
Right.
And the founder realized that the ceramics market was getting kind of crowded. And so they took their knowledge of materials and they pivoted.
Yeah.
And they started making abrasive wheels in 1953.
Abrasive wheels.
Yeah.
So like sandpaper.
Yeah, think of it like really high-tech sandpaper.
Got it.
That's essential for all sorts of industries.
Okay.
Polishing and grinding.
The
And they actually became the first company to manufacture them in Taiwan.
Oh, wow. So before them.
Before them.
They had to import it all.
They had to import it all from Japan.
So they saw a need and they filled it.
Exactly.
Smart.
Very smart. So they found a need. They filled it. But you can't exactly build a giant company.
Right.
Just on...
You can't build an empire on sandpaper.
Sandpaper, right.
Yeah.
So they hit a ceiling.
They did. Yeah.
Absolutely.
The thing about abrasives is everyone needs them.
Right.
But the demand is pretty stable.
It's not, exactly.
Let's say salt, you know. You need it, but in fairly small amounts.
You need a certain amount, and that's kind of it.
Right.
And by the 1990s, they were really struggling to grow. Yeah. Beyond $1 billion new Taiwan dollars in revenue.
Okay, so they were at a crossroads.
They were at a crossroads.
What did they do?
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
They decided to jump head first.
Oh, wow.
Into the world of semiconductor materials.
Semiconductors.
Yeah. That's a big change.
That is a huge change.
Huge change.
Yeah.
So how did they even think they could pull this off?
Right.
Well,
yeah.
They took what they knew, which was this super precise grinding and polishing.
Yeah.
And they applied it to a new market.
Right.
A booming new market.
A booming new market.
And they started focusing two things.
Okay.
Reclaimed wafers.
Okay.
And diamond discs.
I gotta ask, what's a reclaimed wafer? Is that like recycling for computer chips?
It is.
Okay.
So you know computer chips.
Yeah.
Those tiny little brains that power everything.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You build them on these thin slices of silicon called wafers.
Those are wafers.
And they're really expensive.
Right.
So Kinik figured out a way to take used wafers.
Oh, so they're taking used wafers.
Used wafers. They polish them down using their abrasive expertise.
Okay.
And then they make them usable again.
Oh, wow.
So not only did they find a way to lower the cost of making chips, but they also made the process more eco-friendly.
So they were ahead of the curve on that.
They were ahead of the curve.
Sustainability.
Yeah.
That's great.
But it wasn't easy.
Right.
They had to come up with a whole new technology called ductile mode grinding.
Ductile mode grinding.
To make it work.
All right.
Think about it.
Okay.
You're trying to polish a surface.
Yeah.
So smooth. That even like the tiniest little flaw could ruin a whole batch of chips.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So it's like...
That's the level of precision we're talking about.
Wow.
And they actually had to partner with the Industrial Technology Research Institute in Taiwan to figure this out. And it paid off.
Well, that's good.
They invested 1.2 billion NTD.
1.2 billion?
And generated over 27 billion NTD in revenue.
Wow.
Over 2 decades.
That's a pretty good return on investment.
It's a pretty good return.
Yeah.
And they didn't stop there.
Okay.
Remember those diamond discs I mentioned?
Yeah, the diamond discs.
Those are another crucial piece of the chip-making puzzle.
Right.
They're used in this process called CMP.
CMP.
Which stands for chemical mechanical polishing.
Okay.
Basically, it's a way to smooth out those silicon wafers.
Yeah.
And you know what?
What?
Kinik used their diamond abrasive know-how.
Okay.
And they became the second largest diamond disc manufacturer.
Wow, that's...
in the world.
That's incredible.
Right behind 3M.
Wow.
From Pottery.
That's amazing.
To the global semiconductor stage.
I mean, that's a huge jump.
It's a huge jump.
Yeah.
And they're taking on 3M.
Yeah.
How'd they do that?
How did they pull that off?
Well, that's the beauty of their strategy.
Okay.
They focused on these niche markets within the semiconductor industry.
Okay.
They weren't trying to be everything to everyone.
Right.
They found these very specific needs, and they came up with really specialized solutions.
Smart. Yeah, very smart.
So instead of trying to conquer the world, they found their lane, and they dominated it.
Dominated it.
So I'm starting to see why Steve's so excited about them.
Yeah, no kidding.
And what's even more impressive is how they're planning to grow from here.
Okay.
They've got this three-pronged approach that's all about innovation, global expansion, and get this sustainability.
Oh, wow.
So they're thinking about the future of the planet, too.
That's really cool.
All right, hold that thought. We are going to dive into their plan for the future right after this. All right, so we're back. And I really want to hear more about this three-pronged approach. You know, they're already a global player in semiconductor materials, but it sounds like they're going to be even bigger.
Oh, yeah, they definitely have big plans.
So break it down for me. First up, even better semiconductor materials. What does that even mean?
Well, you know all that expertise they have in abrasives and grinding. They're using that to develop even more advanced materials for the semiconductor industry. It's like they started by making the tools to shape and polish chips, and now they're making the building blocks of the chips themselves.
So they're not just playing in the sandbox anymore. They're building the whole playground.
Exactly.
Wow.
And they're being smart about it. They're focusing on very specific areas where they can really excel.
Okay, so the semiconductor industry is already super competitive.
It is.
How do they plan to stand out?
Well, that's where their second prong comes in.
Okay.
Going global.
But it sounds like they're already global.
They are, but they want to expand even more.
Right.
And they're doing it through something called smart manufacturing.
Smart manufacturing. Is that like factories run by robots?
Kind of. It's all about using technology to make production more efficient, more flexible, and more responsive.
So basically, factories that can adapt to changes really quickly.
Exactly.
No matter where they are.
Exactly. Okay. And this plays right into their strategy of focusing on those niche markets.
Right.
They can quickly adjust their production to meet the needs of very specific customers.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because the semiconductor industry, it's up and down all the time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So being able to react quickly is a huge advantage.
Huge advantage.
So less about building huge factories and more about being agile.
Yeah, agile and adaptable.
Adaptable.
Yeah.
And by having a global footprint, they can tap into new talent resources.
Absolutely.
So where are they looking to expand?
Well, they've mentioned Southeast Asia. And get this, possibly the U.S.
The U.S.
Yeah.
That's a big move.
It is.
Especially right now.
But it's a smart move.
With everything that's going on.
There's a huge push to bring semiconductor manufacturing back to the U.S.
Right.
And remember, Kinik's ties with TSMC, that could give them a real advantage here.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so global expansion, check. What about this sustainability thing? Are they really serious about this?
They are.
Or is this just...
This is not just a buzzword.
A buzzword.
They've been doing this for a while.
Okay.
Remember how they pioneered the whole reclaimed wafer thing?
Yeah.
That was just the start.
Okay.
They want to be net zero by 2030.
2030. That's right around the corner.
It is.
How are they going to do that?
Well, they're taking a holistic approach. First, they're conducting these carbon footprint audits.
So they're trying to figure out where their emissions are coming from.
Exactly. And then they're investing in R&D to come up with greener manufacturing processes.
Like what?
Like reducing water and energy consumption, minimizing waste, and finding ways to recycle materials more effectively.
So they're actually doing stuff. They're not just talking about it.
They're walking the walk.
That's great.
And they see sustainability as a core business strategy.
Which makes sense. consumers want to buy products that are made responsibly.
Right.
And companies that ignore that are going to get left behind.
They are.
And for a company like Kinik, that supplies parts to other manufacturers. Their sustainability practices are a big selling point.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it helps them attract talent.
Yeah, for sure.
Because who wouldn't want to work for a company that's doing good for the planet?
Right, exactly.
So it's smart business and a sustainable future.
It all ties together.
So this global expansion plan, it's not just about building factories. It's about building partnerships.
It is.
Yeah.
Partnerships are key.
So this global network thing, you said it's all about partnerships,
Yeah.
not just factories. But what does that actually look like?
So it's about these win-win situations.
Okay.
Like imagine, Kinik partners with a university in Europe that specializes in nanomaterials.
Okay.
Kinik gets access to all this cutting-edge research.
Right.
And they get access to talented engineers. And the university, they get funding and a way to apply their research.
Trading secrets, but in a good way.
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
It's about sharing resources and knowledge
Okay.
to create something bigger than what they could do on their own.
So it's not just universities.
No, not just universities.
All right.
They're also collaborating with other companies.
Even competitors.
Sometimes even competitors.
How does that work?
It's called co-opetition.
Co-opetition.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's cooperation between competitors.
Okay.
So let's say Kinik and another company are both working on a new type of diamond disc. Instead of duplicating their efforts, they decide to work together. They might even share manufacturing facilities.
So they're saying, we're both trying to climb this mountain. Let's help each other out.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they both get to the top faster.
Right.
And they might discover new ideas along the way.
So not every collaboration is going to work out.
Right. Of course not.
So what are some of the things they need to watch out for?
Cultural differences are a big one.
Okay.
Different countries, different cultures, different ways of doing business.
Right.
So building trust is important.
Yeah.
And making sure everyone feels respected.
And what about intellectual property?
Yeah, they need to be careful about that.
Nobody wants to get ripped off.
Right. They need strong legal agreements.
So this whole globalization thing, it sounds kind of risky.
It can be, but it can also be really rewarding.
Okay.
One of the benefits of a global network is that it helps to reduce risk.
Okay.
If one market has problems, they have other markets to rely on.
So it's like diversifying your portfolio.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it helps them avoid supply chain problems.
Right, like what happened during the pandemic.
Exactly.
So globalization isn't just about expanding.
Right.
It's also about being more resilient.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's what makes Kinik so smart. They're not just thinking about profits, they're building a sustainable business.
The Kinik story is pretty amazing. They went from pottery to semiconductor materials, from local to global.
And they show that adaptability and innovation are key.
Yeah, they're not afraid to change
Yeah.
and try new things.
And they're not done yet.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what they do next.
Me too.
Well, that's it for today. We hope you enjoyed learning about Kinik.
It's a really fascinating company.
Make sure to check out their website. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Board Business channel, and ring the bell for notifications. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the world of business.
Until next time.
See ya.